Guys, welcome back to HPL. I am Nathan, that's Admiral Zamora, joined by B, Tan, and Grace. This match is all tied up at one game apiece now. ErA sticking to his guns, queuing up that handlock deck, trying to target what Zalae is known for, that grim patron warrior, and more specifically, those aggressive tendencies.
And as we talked about, the two decks queued up, probably the two most powerful decks right now in Hearthstone, and I fully expect one of these two to bring that deck back for Game 3.
Yeah, anything can happen, though. Again, we've seen Zalae play a ton of Warrior in the past. You can head over to pvplive.net and see exactly how he's played that, how he chooses to use that strategy, where he chooses to leverage his life total and go on from there. All that stuff is available there. But ErA, you know, the fact that he's choosing to queue up handlock here again over and over, really showing that he's done his homework.
Yeah, really done his homework, was really prepared for this matchup, and he played it great. You saw Zalae come out to a huge turn there, get him all the way down to 2, and fill up his board with a bunch of Grim Patrons and a bunch of the combo pieces. And then you saw a Shadow Flame come in and take care of everything. And you know what? We're gonna have to see what happens here in Game 3. ErA versus Zalae.
Yeah, a ton of minion kills picked up for ErA in that game, exactly what control decks want to do. Look at that. ErA's going to go with his own Warrior deck, and Zalae has swapped over to Druid.
And he has a Harrison Jones in his opening hand. You have to believe that might be a card he keeps.
Yeah, I would venture to say in this matchup that Harrison Jones is one of the better ones that's there. Only card that's sticking in the hand here for him. Big Game Hunter. If ErA's playing something more of a control style, that card can be effectively utilized, but not that great against Grim Patron if that's in fact what ErA is playing.
Now, see, I see what looks like, I think he's playing a control version of Warrior here, but again, you know, we've seen the Grim Patron decks changing up some cards in them lately, but it looks like it's going to be a control Warrior deck. And interesting draw here from Zalae. Does he use this coin to get out of shade here and get something onto the board? If not, he's just hero powering and not doing very well. This game not getting developed very early, and that's what you want to do with Druid. You want to be developing the board as quickly as possible and cheating on mana.
Yeah, Sludge Belcher a pretty big indicator, I think, that ErA is going to tend to go to control. And again, he tends to go against the grain as far as his strategies are concerned. So the fact that he's playing something more traditional control style, not a very big surprise to see out of him.
Also, I mean, the two decks that ErA's played against this round, in Hunter and Grim Patron Warrior, maybe he thinks that his control warrior build is good against those, and like, you know, he's thinking Zalae's going to continue the aggression, continue to try to put me on the back foot. I'm going to play this deck that I can just entrench in and know that I can get him.
Yeah, but of course Zalae with a very good read. We know that Druid often does very well versus control warrior, just has a ton of pressure it can apply, and the fact that warriors are having to leverage their life total, take that blowback to keep control on the board. Druid does not have a lot of small minions in order to leverage your life total against, so you're going to take massive blowback when you decide to use those weapons. That's going to put you to those very dangerous life totals where Force of Nature Savage Roar can easily close out a game.
Yeah, and you're going to see him not use the coin here. He's going to shade, he's going to do the slow curve, he's going to shade on 3, Pilot a Shredder on 4. I think he's saving that coin for this Dr. Boom, and that is a Ragnaros drawn by ErA.
That's going to be a big Game Hunter target for Zalae. It's a matter of how much value he can actually get out of that Ragnaros. So not a ton of action here for ErA. I'm glad he didn't choose to develop this Deathbite. You know, he's got nothing to work against it with, so just going to make his Armor Smith a little bit of a threat here, start pushing for damage, and maybe put Zalae in a position where he feels like he needs to start trading.
Ooh, but that was not a bad draw from Zalae there. He drew a swipe, so if he feels the need to take care of some of these minions here this turn, he can do so without losing his own shade.
Yeah, I think Pilot Shredder is going to be, you know, pretty much far and away his drop. It's just, you know, we've seen it from him in the past. He likes to get board development and start pushing that damage early. Swipe is going to be a card that I expect him to use as more of a push card or sort of an emergency button if he finds himself in a situation where he absolutely has to deal with a minion.
Yeah, it's a good card to have in your back pocket. Now, this Deathbite does have some good targets finally.
It does, but he's also got a Sludge Belcher in his hand, which is a fantastic play versus a Piloted Shredder. There's not a 5-power threat on Zalae's side of the board that can deal with a Sludge Belcher very easily. Of course, maybe something like Keeper of the Grove could put him on that back foot, put him in a bad position, but a lot of options here moving forward, and he has to take his time and think about how he expects this game to unfold to find the right sequence of plays.
Absolutely. I really wouldn't mind seeing him actually Sludge Belcher here and then push for damage, start to put Zalae in a situation where he has to start trading and getting his minions in there in combat instead of just building up a board position and try to overwhelm you and then eventually combo you out late in the game.
Yeah, I think that's one of his big keys to victory, and that's exactly what we're going to see here, is him starting to make that push for damage. When you have a Ragnaros in your hand and you have all this weapon damage, maybe you're in a situation where you can start to push, but there's a Ragnaros of his own.
Yeah, we see dueling a Ragnaros. Ragnaros I?
Ragnaros says, I don't think there's an official plural for Ragnaros.
Guys, somebody tweeted us, use the hashtag HPL. What is the official plural of Ragnaros?
I want to know for sure. This Harrison Jones been in Zalae's opening hand the entire game. We haven't seen a single weapon out of ErA. He's been focused on his board development and starting to get a little bit of damage in here now. And there's not a super efficient way to deal with this Sludge Belcher.
Yeah, he maybe have loathed to play some of these weapons earlier in the game because of something like Harrison Jones. You find that very often in a lot of Druid builds, and Zalae kept just one card in his opening hand, but didn't Wild Growth on 2.
Yeah, he hasn't innervated either.
Yeah, and he hasn't innervated. And those are generally the cards that you snap keep as a Druid player, so maybe ErA is really on top of his game and really pinpointing what's going on in Zalae's hand here.
Yeah, Zalae gonna have to find an effective way to push best. He's doing basically the exact same thing ErA was doing. ErA took his time when he played the Sludge Belcher, so Zalae knows he's got some options in front of him, and I love this play. Swipe is gonna take out a 3-power threat. It's gonna set up this Sludge Belcher exactly to die and keep his minion around. He's gonna run over this 1-2, and now ErA is in a spot where he has to find a way to deal with what's on the board. And look at his hand. Not a lot of very efficient ways to get it done.
Yeah, I love this play from Zalae here, just clearing the entire board that ErA has developed, kind of punishing him for pushing for damage there. Now he's got the board presence and ErA has to answer. That was another big draw, another big minion in Alex draws, but not exactly what he needs in this spot right here.
Yeah, this is a spot like shield slamming 2 health or 1 health minions doesn't feel like something that you're excited to do. You know, same thing for execute. You don't feel good about executing a 4-1 or a 4-2, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah, you might have to trade a spell for the Shade here, because the longer you wait on killing Shade, the bigger it gets and the more damage you're going to take if you throw a weapon at it.
Yeah, I like the execute here. This probably is going to indicate a shield slam as well. So, you know, not happy again to use his stuff very inefficiently, and there's no turn 7 action here from ErA, so he's kind of relying on draws, and this is a perfect setup now for Zalae to start to take the board and start to run away with this game. That Harrison Jones is going to kill this weapon off and put extra options in his hand.
Yeah, Wild Growth, just a perfect draw here on turn 6, but not exactly what you need. You need that a little early in the game, but this Harrison Jones is going to dig him into the deck a little bit more. The second Wild Growth is drawn, not perfect, but as we said, ErA doesn't have a ton going on this turn. At least for his sake, he has a Fiery War Axe to finish off his Harrison Jones.
Yeah, so having to take some more blowback here, you know, leverage that life total again, try to get that advantage. He's clearing up some of these threats, but the big picture here is that he's not getting his own threats on the board. So the fact that he's pushed for that damage early on doesn't mean a ton, and now we see Force of Nature and Savage Roar in Zalae's hand, and Dr. Boom is coming out this turn. ErA only has one way to deal with this immediately, and it's not even a guarantee.
Yeah, he's gonna, if he plays Ragnaros this turn, there's no guarantee that it hits the Dr. Boom. It's actually a 25% chance that he hits the Dr. Boom. So I like shield blocking first to see more options. And
Gotta risk the brawl here. This is a very big moment for ErA right now.
Oh, and Dr. Boom survives.
Wins. That is disaster striking.
Plus 6 damage off the bots. That is huge for Zalae and just very, very bad for ErA. Now Zalae picks up an Innervate. He can combo very quickly this game, so he's going to play a Ragnaros, get into guaranteed 8 damage, deal 7 more damage here from Dr. Boom, and be able to combo him out next turn.
Senor del Fuego making sure to put the ErA on the back foot. 8 more damage coming in. ErA has no way to deal with this, and that's going to do it. Force of Nature and Savage Roar is going to put Zalae out to a 2-1 lead in this series.
Even the YOLO Rag goes to the face here from Zalae, and ErA just scoops it up knowing that he can't win. Doesn't even need to see the combo out of Zalae's deck there. Wow, what a game. Just not a lot of action going on in the first couple turns. Not a lot of development from Zalae there, but what a great late game. A lot of burst damage and just pure fireworks the last couple turns.
Showing you exactly why Druid has such a good matchup versus something like Control Warrior. Consistent pressure. At every step of the way, Zalae had something that ErA had to deal with. Once he had run out of those options, Zalae was free to do whatever he wanted, and the absolute crushing blow there was when ErA was forced to brawl when Dr. Boom was played, and he lost the brawl. 33% chance, 0.33 repeating, of course, percent chance of survival for that Dr. Boom, and it succeeded, and that's nail in the coffin.
Yeah, Dr. Boom was played onto a turn 7 open board. I think the most important turn was a turn where Zalae got to clear his entire board. It was turn 5 or 6, and then got to put a Dr. Boom into play into a clear board in turn 7, and it wasn't answered cleanly. As you said, the brawl came in, wasn't guaranteed, didn't get the 33%er, and you know what? Everything kind of crumbled from there.
Yeah, so ErA going to have to go back to the drawing board and figure out exactly what strategy he's going to use to tackle Zalae. Zalae really showing a lot of range here, too. He played a face hunter deck in game 1. He swapped it up to Grim Patron Warrior after that, and now he's played Druid here in game 3. So there is no telling what he's going to queue up here in game 4.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking to see anything from any player here, and you know what? They can play anything they want. The format of HPL, you're allowed to play whatever you want. If you can build it, you can play it. Now, guys, we're going to be right back with Game 4 between Zalae and ErA. You're watching Hearthstone on PvP Live.